Welcome to 99th Monkey Liberty News for Monday, June 9th, 2014. The first article that I have today is from Breitbart. Boxer Feinstein caps introduce firearm confiscation legislation. And they're proposing that if someone feels uncomfortable with someone they know owning a gun, they would be able to petition and have the gun taken away from the person who they don't think should own a gun. And this is sneaky, nasty, completely unconstitutional. These people aren't going to give up. They're just not. Which means that we can't give up either. And sadly, in a way, sadly, which means that at some point there is going to probably just be an all-out confrontation. Nobody wants that, but these people are not going to go quietly into the night. They can't. They are completely sold out to the agenda that they are following, and when you take it out logically to the final, what is really going on, the only thing that makes sense is that they, quite frankly, are serving the devil. And you can read C.S. Lewis's Screw Tape Letters and learn, and just know that when you serve an evil master and you fail, things do not go well for you. So whether they're conscious of it or not, they can't fail, because if they fail, that is going to mean very severe consequences for them. And even just as far as people are concerned, when enough people realize how Americans have been defrauded and misled and lied to, there will be consequences to those who have lied and defrauded. So again, these people can't afford to lose. Well, guess what? We can't afford to lose either, because it's our future, the future of our children, the future of our grandchildren. Larouche has some laws that he is suggesting, the 4 new laws to save the USA now, not an option, an immediate necessity. Well, at least he's proposing something. We definitely need some proposals. We need a way to move into the future and out of the debt slavery and oppression under which most of us live now. John Rappaport has an excellent blog entry, Logic and Illogic in Education. And he has written a lot here about logic. The foundation, the historical, traditional foundation for learning is called the trivium. The trivium is grammar, logic, and rhetoric. Grammar is the foundation of all education, and that is why elementary school used to be called grammar school. Well, it's not called grammar school anymore because kids aren't taught grammar. And then, of course, it follows they're not taught logic and rhetoric either. But these are the skills that educated people require. And if you listen to videos, watch videos by people like Stefan Molyneux, you can benefit from someone who has exercised the discipline and learned logic. And of course, John Rappaport is a great logic person. There are examples for us, but this is a skill that we all need to have. all three of the skills really, grammar, logic, and rhetoric, to be able to communicate to people what is actually going on and to help them see how we have indeed been defrauded and why we need to do something about it. I kind of plugging back in, Don and I are still traveling actually, but the really relaxed part of our vacation, that being at the beach, has come to a close. So I was trying to plug back in this morning. I really have let myself unplug to a huge extent. Not completely, but pretty much. I haven't been looking at tweets that much. I haven't been really using my phone and my electronics all that much. But so as a result of looking at Twitter this morning, I do have some links that I want to mention, but there's something else that I want to emphasize. I'm just going to scroll through these. From Intelligence Hub, FEMA and DHS team up in PSYOPs campaign. Well, that's of course going on all the time, but something that it's good for us to be reminded of. Drudge report, alpha male bear facing castration as sexual dominance threatens population. And this is just an example of how, on one hand, ostensibly the social engineers are trying to rescue nature. On the other hand, you know, the reality is they are interfering with nature so outrageously. From Amber Lyon, DEA intimidates medical marijuana physicians, threatens to pull federal licenses to prescribe certain medications. And this is, you know, all this backdoor stuff. The people keep saying we want more freedom. And the social engineers keep trying to impose more constraints on us. And they will use whatever means necessary. And as evidenced by that bill that is being introduced to confiscate firearms, they're not limiting themselves. They're not nice people. They're not polite. And in dealing with them, we have to remember that we're not dealing with nice people who keep their word. We're dealing with evil scoundrels who will stop at nothing to impose their will on us. From Larouche Pact, not an option, an immediate necessity. The following statement is for immediate action. This is a critical time, and it's imperative that we all do become active and know what's going on and talk about it. Blacklisted news, congressional report, TSA abusively and arbitrarily using security designation to hide information. I would like to mention one thing about TSA and firearms. Someone that we know went through TSA and was traveling alone and was required to have his hand scanned for firearm residue. Evidently they don't want you to fly if you've recently been at a gun range or if you've recently fired any kind of a weapon. That's just a heads up. And you know, I have a little bit of other heads up for if you're going to be traveling, which I'll get to in a minute. From Glenn Greenwald, Bush Attorney General Michael Mukasey defends Obama's Gitmo law breaking on the ground that Obama is Commander-in-Chief. Well, you know, maybe this is the out. Of all of the offenses, impeachable offenses that Obama has committed, I'm not sure why people are making such a big deal about this one. And I mentioned that last week. The focus can't just be on this. The focus really needs to be on the list of offenses. Fast and Furious in Benghazi, 2 of the chief among them. And of course, forged identity documents. From Intelligence Hub, the Hell Eye of the NSA. From David Icke, phone obsession is turning us into zombies. It is amazing. You know, I've been with people, when people get tired or there's a lull in the conversation, everybody seems to pull out their phone. And then it's, you know, it might be 15 minutes to a half hour before anybody begins to communicate with real living people again. If we can become aware of this and limit it, and, you know, I know there's a tendency, if you're at a restaurant, you're waiting for your food to come, whatever, pull out your phone, look at your phone. Let's try to remember how we passed the time before we had phones and not become zombies. How's that for an idea of how to change the world? From Health Ranger, superhero Jeff Lawton's permaculture wisdom can literally save the world. And another David Icke message, the cancer industry, Big Pharma, Bilderberg, and Google. Yeah, they're all linked. And as I mentioned a lot last week, I hope that we will all be very aware of what is going on with the Bilderberg group having just met. And yeah, sure, they used Fritz Springmeier or someone purporting to be Fritz Springmeier to release their stated agenda. I'm not buying that for a heartbeat. And if you're buying it, let's talk about maybe you buying a bridge somewhere. And I do think it's important to watch what begins to play out now after Bilderberg, and I suspect that the proposed legislation by Boxer and Feinstein might have something to do with that they decided to amp up their program. So, you know, we need to be right on our game, and we need to be right in the place that God has for us to be. And indeed, sometimes the place God has us is a place of rest. And it's possible to accomplish things even in times of rest. And I want to read from Psalm 127. Unless the Lord builds the house, they labor in vain who build it. Unless the Lord guards the city, the watchman keeps awake in vain. It is vain for you to rise up early, to retire late, to eat the bread of painful labors. For he gives to his beloved, even in his sleep. In other words, you know, there are a lot of proverbs about diligence being the precious possession, and there's a lot in the Bible about working hard and being disciplined, requiring a lot of yourself. But at the same time, that's not really where our victory comes from. You know, there's also a psalm, I think it's a psalm that says, the horse is prepared for the day of battle, but the victory belongs to the Lord. And God simply gives us things. So even when we take times of rest, we step away, we get refreshed, God is still, you know, He can give to us when we're sleeping. Something amazing can happen that completely shifts our lives and our fortunes in a positive way when we're asleep. So I'm hoping that people will, you know, there's that old adage, and this isn't a Bible verse certainly, but people say, work as if everything depends on you and pray as if everything depends on God. And there is that partnership. What we do in working is hopefully what He has told us to do. And there's a Bible verse that says that the work that we're meant to do is faith. So, that we want to run out and do something and change the world and fix things. There are many, many different ways to do that. And one of them is resting, rejoicing, and just being peaceful and confident. And now I want to move into what I really want to mention this morning. Something that I personally experienced over the last week, being out on the Outer Banks of North Carolina, especially Hatteras Island. Really one of the most magical places in the world. I've been going there since 1980, and I've been there many, many times. Not absolutely every year, but over the span of time, most years. It is a place where God can, really speak to you. There's, you can get pretty well unplugged from everyday life. And of course there are many places you can do that, camping in the mountains. But this is just a very special place. And this is a particularly special place. This is very near the Cape Hatteras Lighthouse. This is called Diamond Shoals. And there's a sandbar that stretches very far out into the ocean here. This is kind of a place where two currents, I think it's the Labrador and the Gulf Stream, come together. So it's just a very significant place on the earth. It's one of the easternmost points of the United States. And if you've ever been there, you know what I'm talking about. I'm honestly kind of at a loss for words. But you're not allowed to go there anymore. I mean, you can go to the Outer Banks, you can go to Hatteras Island, but you're not supposed to go to Diamond Shoals. And some brave members of our party, our vacation party, did venture down there. One ranger told them that as long as they stayed at the, I think they were supposed to be like 6 inches into the water. So you have their shins, water halfway up. There's just something ridiculous. If you've ever been in the ocean, you know you can't walk on the shore and have the water at any kind of a constant level. Or, your shins, you'd be constantly running in and out of the water chasing waves. But one ranger did tell them that they could do that, and they did. And what's going on there? People there used to go down there, and there would be maybe between 20 and 40 pickup trucks parked, and fishermen would be kind of camped out there. And that has been a part of the tradition here for as long as I've been going, like I said, since 1980. And that is now forbidden. And why is it forbidden? Well, access to Cape Point closed by plover activity. Some bird that is not even native there has been nesting there. And so they've closed the beaches. And this is a large region where they've closed the beaches. It's National Seashore. And it's really very disappointing. And I'm probably going to spend a little time, I don't know, I might write some blogs or something, certainly write some letters. When something like this happens, this affects, this is National Seashore. So I want to know, did Congress make a law that you can't drive there? Because if they didn't, under law, this is a guideline, not anything that can be really firmly enforced. So, all of us, and this is just an example, but all of us need to begin to ask these kind of questions. Is this a law? Did Congress approve this decision? Did Congress pass a law that this beach is closed? If the answer is no, then more questions need to be asked. And of course the answer is no. They are trying to regulate us almost out of existence. If they can, they will. And even the lighthouse at Cape Hatteras is highly regulated. It used to be free to go up, walk up the stairs of the lighthouse. I once carried a 2-year-old all the way up and all the way down for free. Well, now it costs $8. And if you take your children in and they get tired and you boost them over a couple of steps, you get yelled at by a ranger who tells you every person must step on every step. Step on every step. It's just so it's like having an aunt that is fearful and reacts to everything, constantly looking over your shoulder, telling you to be careful. And it's not freedom. It's not conducive to independent thought. It's not conducive to accepting responsibility for one's own life. It's just a mess. It's slave training. It's not even slave training. It's enforcing things on us as if we were slaves. And I don't know what the answer to this is. Maybe it'd be nice. Maybe you're going to be traveling. Maybe you can carry around some kind of a waiver that says, I hold harmless anybody on these premises if I get hurt, and sign it, give them a copy, and then go do what you want. The people who did venture out onto the beach were able to drive part of the way there, and were stopped by a ranger because they were in a Jeep and someone had his feet dangling off the Jeep. So really, it's like when you venture onto federal park land, national park land, it's like you're going into kindergarten. Be prepared to be told exactly what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. And again, I'm not sure what the answer is, but if you're prepared and maybe do some research and find some ways to communicate with these people, that might help you. And here's another issue with traveling that can pop up in this age of nanny state and big banks. My debit card was declined, but I have money in the bank. Now, we were kind of aware of this and have been traveling with a kind of finance that allows us, we have some cash, but other means too. And if you use cash, can you lose it? Sure, you might lose your cash. But you're going to be in trouble if you use your debit card too. So I don't know what the answer is. Everybody has to find their own solution to this, but this is a real issue. Some people that we were traveling with stopped to fill up their gas tank, and their debit card was declined. They went online and checked their balance, and there was a lot of money there. So, when you're traveling, when I did a Google search for that. I did a start page search for this, I should say. And I found one entry that was 9 reasons your credit card might be declined. Well, they're all stupid, sappy reasons. Yeah, that you buy something that costs a lot of money, or you spend money in different states. So what? It's your money. Now, I know that they do that just for security and ostensibly to protect you. I just want to say, if you're at a gas station and your tank is empty and your debit card doesn't work, you're not going to feel very protected. Not at all. So I'd be so thrilled if everybody started taking, using cash. Just use cash, and whatever that means as far as security and learning how to, look after your things, your possessions. And I guess, if you're traveling, if you're planning a vacation this summer, it might be wise to look into some alternatives for how you can bring along the financial resources that you need. And don't assume, certainly, that you're going to be able to use your debit card or your credit card, because a lot of unforeseen things happen, and you can't. So, it'd be great if everybody pulled money out of the bank and started to use cash. They can't track cash. They don't like it. They do everything they can. I mean, when we use cash, we have some eyebrows raised sometimes, but you can be anonymous that way, and that's what we're trying for. We don't want the NSA to know every single move we make and every single breath we take. So just some thought about that. The last thing that I want to mention is not strictly good news, but it is good news in the sense that we can choose to live our lives in a way that does not invite as much government interference. Our friends who were traveling and had their card declined were in an unusual spot and used their GPS, and it routed them through Amish country. And some of the things they saw were amazing. Now, I've been through some of the Amish country in Indiana, and I know a little bit about Amish country, but not a lot. I think we're all kind of intrigued by the Amish. Now, I do want to mention that Fritz Springmeier has kind of been emphasizing this Amish thing, and I'm not sure exactly why. It is a good lifestyle, but because he's kind of speaking on behalf of William Van Dyne and some of the other Bilderbergers, there may be some move that they want to, push people into something like this. I don't know, but the idea here is, and my friend said, how are they so wealthy? Well, the way they're so wealthy is that they themselves benefit from their labors. If we have jobs, we work, we get money, and then we buy things. And that in-between part, that money part, there can be huge losses. And that's because of interest rates, that's because of inflation, and that's because of the IRS. Three big major streams through which our life force is sucked off. We work, we produce, and we don't get to eat the fruits of our labors. Well, if you are raising your own food on your own land, then you do get to eat the fruits of your labors. And I'm aware that the Amish have a special means of holding land, where they have a special kind of title, and I believe they don't pay property tax. And of course, when I did a search for that, I found a lot of answers that said they do pay property tax and they do pay taxes. But certainly what they use themselves, that they produce and grow, and what they exchange with their neighbors outside of commerce, they do not pay taxes on that. And that's the key, really. That is one of the main means through which we can take our lives back. And the country, hopefully we'll get the whole thing back eventually. But now we can begin to take our lives back by growing and producing things for our own use, or that we use for barter. And this proverb, actually, I'm going to close with this. This is actually written about marriage, but it's kind of a general principle. Drink water from your own cistern and fresh water from your own well. Should your springs be dispersed abroad, streams of water in the streets, let them be yours alone and not for strangers with you. This is, even if this is about marriage and children, it's still about life force and the idea that God has entrusted our life force to us, and we often squander it, and frankly we squander it through paying taxes. We squander it through buying stupid junk that we don't need. We squander it through, in many ways, through being connected to the system, because the system is designed to draw it off away from us and to be sucked up to the top of the pyramid. So just some reminders on that, and encouragement that it is possible to find ways to benefit from our own labors and to enjoy the fruits of our own life force, what flows out of our own life force, and have our life force benefit ourselves and our families. And certainly, that is becoming a high priority as Don and I process things, hopefully logically, to find ways to do that. And I hope that many of you are thinking in that direction as well. And, there are a lot of negative things to battle, but I think it's helpful to focus on the positive, to focus on what we're moving toward, and to set our eyes on, well, okay, I'm going to be really cliched here and say what popped into my head, set our eyes on the prize. Thank you for tuning in for today's 99th Monkey Liberty News. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Hoping that you will love one another, take care, and enforce the Bill of Rights, because probably nobody else is going to if we don't.